We recently published a video that related to certainly my view on how you would run a project that has more of a bias towards utilization of lean tools. That would be a project where the focus is on reducing cycle time or improving throughput or controlling inventory or something like that. And the follow-up question that comes is, how do you actually approach a project if it has more of a bias towards Six Sigma as a slightly different type of project? And those projects would be ones where you're focused on, controlling variation, reducing defects, or something like that. And Six Sigma as a methodology has more relevance in those particular circumstances. So I want to continue that conversation from that video. We definitely have a 20-step roadmap that we refer to now. It's not the roadmap, it's just a roadmap. And it follows that DMAIC sequence that everyone knows when it comes to business improvement. But the question that comes up is, how do you take that thinking around that sequence of activities that you would lay out in a roadmap and turn it into a practical approach to project execution? Because that roadmap is definitely useful for teaching and for explaining to people where tools fit within a sequence of activities. But it's not necessarily exactly how you would run a project, because every project differs. So I want to lay this out in this particular way with a visual flow. So if you have a look at the screen, and I mentioned this before in the previous video, that business improvement, when it adds value, it comes from some sort of performance monitoring around things related to the value stream. The value stream is the thing that makes you money in your business. So let's just say we've analyzed performance and monitored some metric that looks at the value stream or something that supports the value stream. We find that there's a performance gap there. So what we would do is we would allocate that as a business improvement project, and we would give it to someone with the capability to go and lead that project. In the world of business improvement, particularly if you're using Lean and Six Sigma, you would say it would be allocated to a green belt or a black belt. Now, this is how we approach it, and we found this to be the most sustainable way to do it and the most effective way to get project work done quickly with the minimum amount of interruption to productivity. So if you look at the screen there, this is the preparation phase of a project. And in that preparation phase, basically, I follow three fundamental steps. In step one, I would meet with the project sponsor, and that would be a line manager who has responsibility for the process that is being monitored. They're the person who's ultimately going to be the beneficiary of any improvement because it's one of their KPIs. So we'd sit with the project sponsor and we would start to write a project charter which defines the scope of the project and the problem or performance gap that we're trying to fix. We would then leave and we would do or undertake what I refer to as pre-measuring. And pre-measuring is basically you go out into the workplace wherever this process is underway and gets utilized, and you would look at it and you would collect data and you would study it and you would get to understand it. You know, it might take a couple of days, 2 or 3 days or something, but you get to understand it in a way that's going to help you, first of all, work out how to solve the problem, and secondly, help you in your facilitation of the different tools that you might utilize when working with a team who work in that area. And that's the ultimate way to get buy-in to solutions. That's basically to facilitate the operators who do the work to a solution that's going to be effective in closing the performance gap. So we go and pre-measure, we collect our data, we do all of those types of things. And then as part of that, I would first of all develop a baseline. What's my performance baseline? And then I would study the stability of the process. We would do this in any situation because it's very difficult to improve a process that is unstable in any significant way. So we would do that, and then we would sit down as the second part of this step here and develop a plan from beginning to end. And it's that pre-measuring and understanding of the process that helps me work out how I'm going to solve it, right through to the point where I can bring a team together and come up with solutions. Now, I don't know what the solutions are, but I'm planning right through to that implementation planning point when you've got that area there. That time frame I can control. I can't control how long a solution takes because I don't know what the solution is. So I develop that plan, then I go back to the third part of this preparation phase, and I sit with the project sponsor and we build an operating agreement. And the operating agreement is basically two parts. You know, what do they need from me in order for the project to work successfully? You know, communication frequency, type of communication, actions on things going wrong or people not turning up or finding that there's no value with this project. And then the second part of that is getting buy-in to the plan specifically. And that plan, or the key parts of the plan you want buy-in to, is who you need to get the project done and when you need them. And I generally plan around 2 4-hour meetings. They could be separated by a month, they could be separated by a week. Depends on the project specifically. So at this point, I've completed the preparation phase. That would be 50% of the work that I would do around that project, believe it or not. I would then go into the first meeting, and the first meeting would be where I bring the team together. We get buy-in to the problem, we explain the charter and the scope and things like that. We'd map the process out, what is the process, and we would map it out with their input. I don't lay out what I saw. I basically extract from them what the process is. And I can do that well if I've seen the process. I know what to ask, particularly if they chunk things up and they start to hide things, or not intentionally, they just hide information in there by chunking up into macro steps. The other thing is I get to understand, and I get them to understand if there's deviations in the way people do it. Then what we do is some sort of root cause analysis work. We've got a picture up here of a fishbone or Ishikawa diagram, as it's correctly known, where we would do this qualitative type root cause analysis work. And then we would also add in there, in certain circumstances, a quantitative type of root cause analysis. So generally, and this is the most common approach to this, people will do some sort of fishbone root cause analysis work, but the more sophisticated way is to then, based on the conversation there, work out if you need to do a more as I said, quantitative approach to root cause analysis, hence this Y as a function of X diagram. So that would lead into some sort of, statistical analysis or quantitative analysis. So that would be one meeting, generally around about 4 hours to complete that meeting. I would leave there, and then because we did work around root cause analysis using this qualitative type tool, we would need to then go out before we get to the next meeting and validate those causes. We'd validate them through observation or inquiry or even data analysis. But we would validate, yes or no, are the things that we say are potential causes actually causes there, and I'd record those as findings. But the other part of this is if you've gone down the quantitative pathway, then you would need to leave that with a data collection plan, go and collect some data, and this is where the analysis comes to the fore. And this is a more sophisticated way to approach the data analysis using, what we might refer to as Six Sigma type statistical tools. Develop the questions that you need to answer based on the type of data and the variables that you listed in your data collection plan, and then we basically do a two-step thing. We stratify the data where there are chunks of data we can pull apart and compare, and then secondly we look at correlation between numerical X's and numerical Y's. So even if that doesn't make sense to you, just recognize that it's a two-step sequence of data analysis to validate statistically which are the X's that affect that Y, and then we would record our findings on that. This all leads into the second meeting, and the second meeting is where you take your findings to the team, and you've got some options here. Can you go straight to solutions now? Could you go and treat these things specifically, or would you need to do some more digging around potential causes? Do you have to go to that next level? So the pathways you'd follow is either go through a more detailed root cause analysis, and then move to solutions, or you could go from there straight to solutions in the solution workshop. So from the solutions, you would then get into a decision-making model, choosing the different solutions that are relevant according to criteria, constraints and limitations that you have to operate under, but also those solutions that are going to have the biggest impact on the problem itself. You would then leave that with your implementation plan, go and implement those solutions. Now, as part of this, you've got to consider that when you're doing business improvement type project work, one of the problems we get is human behavior. I should qualify that. I don't mean human behavior being a problem. I mean changes in human behavior becoming the problem. It's very easy to go and implement a new process. It's very hard to get people to change their behavior and consistently shift away from what they've always known to be the way to do it. So the purpose of the control mechanism in any business improvement type project, regardless of whether it's Lean or Six Sigma or some other type of approach, is that we're monitoring and responding to deviations and setting it up in such a way that we get people to change their behavior and do the new way. So that's all about the sustainability of the solutions. So there you go. That's pretty much it. Very similar to how we approach the Lean project, just a slightly different bundle of tools. Now, the overall visual flow would look something like this, but I just want to highlight an important part of this. First of all, when you're doing a lean-oriented project, you're still going to do some, numerical analysis at the front end. So you're incorporating a little bit of, multiple methodologies. So whether it's a lean project, you're still doing a bit of Six Sigma type work. The other side of it is, and this is the reverse of it, when you get into the solution phase, even though you might be trying to eliminate or control variation in a process that affects the quality of something, and treat specific causes, whether they be qualitative or quantitative, the solution package can involve lean tools, redesigning a process, standardizing it, doing a quick changeover analysis. It could be a whole bunch of things that relate to this type of project, but comes from the lean toolkit. And what I'm alluding to is that it's not this or this. It's pretty much a toolkit that you draw from to utilize the most appropriate tools for the given circumstances. And I have yet to see a project, certainly in my experience, that didn't involve a little bit of both. So there you go. There you've got a roadmap. So I hope you get something out of that. The final part I want to reference here is, and this is the simplification of business improvement. It's almost like an accelerated approach to it. You'll notice that we reference 2 formal meetings with the line manager. The first meeting where we set up the scope and began the project charter formation and problem defining. Then we did some planning in the middle, but the second meeting was where we went back with our plan and we got buy-in to that plan. So there's 2 formal meetings, right? They can be done within the period of a week. All of the work that we've done over the last 18 years, this is done within a single week. A little bit easier because if I'm an outsider to come in, because I don't have to do work and I'm not getting their emails. But that's how I coach people today on doing their projects. 50% of the project. Then the second part is we have 2 meetings with the team. We have a detailed analysis meeting. And then when we leave that, then we might, and again, I don't know how long the gap's going to be between this and the next meeting, but depending on the type of work we need to do in there, that gap could be a week or a month or whatever. It's in there that we go and collect data that we need to use to validate cause and effect, or which variables affect the thing you're trying to fix, or we just go out and get qualitative data to validate the potential causes that we've listed. So that's our analysis meeting up here on the top right, and then our solution meeting is the next meeting. And everything we do in there is based on the findings that we got from this first part of the project. That's those 2 parts there, 50% of the project. So, and I'm talking about that point up to having an implementation plan. Now, generally we do that in about a week. That might be a Tuesday meeting, that might be a Thursday meeting with a day in between, or it's a Monday meeting, whatever. But sometimes you might need to do that in 1 week and then take a few weeks off to get data, and then you come back for the second week. The only complication that creeps up here is if you've got shift rotations and fly in, fly out, you've kind of got to accommodate that strategy within that given circumstance. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you get something out of the overall conversation there. And who knows, I'll see you in another video. Bye.